Hello and welcome to the Downtown St. Petersburg Ghost Tour. I am your host, Dr. Brandy Stark, Religious Studies and Humanities Professor at this campus. I have studied the supernatural as an undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral student and beyond, and so here we are. The first thing that we want to talk about is what to look for on this tour. We want to pay attention to sounds such as rustling, tapping, talking, footsteps, whispering, and popping. Sights, such as a peripheral vision manifestation in which you see movement out of the corner of your eye and you turn, there's nothing there. Full manifestation, the entity's right there, or items moving. If you happen to see the full manifestation or the items moving, please find your nearest Spirits of St. Petersburg member and let them know. They need to document this. Smells include everything from roses, cookies, oregano, to cigarettes and wet tobacco. Very common manifestation for entities. Sensations include cold, hot, walking into energy or feeling energy, and or touching or tapping. Happily on this tour, I expect neither of those. Ghost types include a haunting, which is a sight recording, an entity that does not interact and is merely produced by the surroundings and does the same thing every time. An apparition is one with personality that does interact and is pretty much what we are looking for. Dreams are actually a very ancient manifestation of the supernatural. We're in an altered state, the entity's in an altered state, or the supernatural entity is in an altered state, and you find these ideas with the Gilgamesh, Iliad, Odyssey, and Bible up through modern times until Freud basically says it's internalized grief. A crisis apparition is a one-time ghost that will either appear to pass on a single message or appears during a crisis to try and assist. It is not a common manifestation. Poltergeist is the least common, and this is an entity that moves items. Again, seeing items move, please find the nearest spirits member. Be aware of urban legends, which is a second-hand story told friend of a friend. They usually involve supernatural ideas, and it may have a core truth to it that becomes exaggerated. The Vanishing Hitchhiker is perhaps a favorite. We're going to talk a little bit about St. Petersburg history while you're waiting, and we're going to start with John Constantine Williams Sr. He is the man who helped to co-found St. Petersburg. He came here on advice of his doctor because he had asthma, and the warm weather was supposed to help his breathing. He started buying up land in 1876 and actually moved here from Tampa in 1887 with the yellow fever epidemic, which broke out in this area quite a bit because of the mosquitoes. Essentially, he ends up bringing the Orange Belt Railroad to St. Petersburg via Peter Demens, as in Demens Landing. And when he brings the railroad down here, they decided that the place needed to be named. They flipped a coin, John Williams lost, and so Peter Demens named this town after his hometown, which was St. Petersburg, Russia. Because Williams was building the hotel, he called it the Detroit after his hometown. So the Detroit Hotel is one that you should probably pay attention to. Williams Park is named for him, in part because he does become the first mayor of this area, and he does die in 1892, the same year that St. Petersburg is incorporated. He is given credit for building up the city from 170 people to about 300 at the time he died. His house is currently at USF St. Petersburg campus, and I had had the opportunity to investigate it a couple of times with USF students and WUSF. Interestingly enough, people report a woman in a yellow party dress who may have been a wife or a later relative who lived in the house. Interestingly enough, while I was there, I was talking to the people from WUSF. My EMF meter went off. I heard the sound of whispering behind me, which is incredibly rare because I don't normally hear things, so I turned around and snapped a photograph. I got that lovely orb image, which unfortunately I don't consider completely valid, but I can tell you this. It turns out that I was there on John Williams' birthday, and that the orb over the chair was actually under a portrait of John Williams. So, was it him? I don't know, but I think he was proud that I was showing off his house. He built the Detroit Hotel in 1888 in order to house the people coming down from the railroad. It is one of the oldest buildings in St. Petersburg, and essentially it is supposed to be haunted in the old section by a man in a three-piece suit. He does like to flirt with women from the balcony who are in Janus Landing. He actually appears in that section of the hotel. Janus Landing is also supposed to be haunted because Well, because I've been told by word of mouth that it is haunted by a friendly ghost. Two people have attested to me that when they started feeling crushed by the crowd, a male Caucasian in a baseball cap who was very nondescript apparently came up behind them, grabbed them by the arm and said, "Come with me," and pulled them out of the crowd. When they turned around to say thank you, he was gone. So that's all right. If you're going to have a ghost, have a friendly ghost. So tonight's tour is led by actually members of the SGA. You are going to go to stations that are manned or womaned, in this case, by members of the Spirits of St. Petersburg. They will tell you the ghost story and the location. It is a 3-block walk. We are going to stop by the Pier Hotel, the Indigo Hotel, and we will end at the Palladium. Please walk carefully and be safe. I will see you on the other side. Hello and welcome to the St. Petersburg College Downtown Campus Ghost Tour. I am your host, Dr. Brandy Stark, and we are going to talk a little bit about what you should expect on this tour. Haunted activity can include things like sounds, tapping, popping, rustling, footsteps, whispering, and talking. Sights include peripheral vision manifestations in which you see movement out of the corner of your eye, you turn and there's nothing there, or manifestation of an entity or items moving. If you happen to see a full manifestation or items moving, please get the nearest Spirits of St. Petersburg member and let them know. They need to document this. Smells are most commonly reported, with phenomena including roses, oregano, and perfume, all the way to tobacco and cigarette smell. Sensations can include feeling hot, cold, an energy sensation, or being tapped or touched. For this particular tour, there are 4 ghost types. A ghost or a haunting is a sight recording in which the entity has no interaction with the living and simply does the same thing over and over again. An apparition is an active entity with personality, like Casper the Friendly Ghost, and that's what we're looking for. A crisis apparition is a one-time manifestation or a short-time manifestation in which an entity tries to convey a message to the living. A poltergeist is an entity that moves items, and again, if you see that, let us know. Be aware of urban legends. This is a second-hand story or a faux-app, friend of a friend story that is told as true and just plausible enough to be believed. One of the most famous is the Vanishing Hitchhiker story that we have on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. That actually dates back to a similar story from feudal China. To give you a little taste of some of the haunted parts of St. Petersburg, we are going to talk about St. Petersburg's founder, John Constantine Williams Sr. Basically, he is really important for us. He had bad health and he came to Florida on his doctor's advice for his breathing. He lived in Tampa, but fell in love with what was unincorporated Hillsborough County and a sleepy fishing village across the bay, which was us, St. Petersburg, and he bought a ton of land in 1876. He ended up moving to St. Petersburg in 1887 with the outbreak of a yellow fever epidemic in Tampa. At that time, he also was instrumental in bringing the Orange Belt Railroad to St. Petersburg via Peter Demons, as in Demon's Landing. It's actually Demon's Landing. And this railroad was first used in 1888. Now, be aware that it did not sound good to come to unincorporated Hillsborough County, so they ended up flipping a coin to name the town. John Williams lost, and so Peter Demons named the town after St. Petersburg, a city that he was fond of from his childhood. John Constantine Williams, in the meantime, named his hotel that he built to house the training patrons, the Detroit, after his hometown in Michigan. John Williams was the first mayor of St. Petersburg. He did die in 1892, the same year that St. Petersburg was incorporated, and at that point we had moved up from about 200 people to 300 people in this area. Williams Park is actually named in his honor. Williams House was moved from 5th Avenue South to the University of South Florida in 1995. I have investigated it several times with USF and WUSF, in part because it's alleged to be haunted by either John Williams or one of his wives. He had a second wife later on. It is haunted by a woman in a yellow putty dress And I also think it actually might be haunted by John Williams himself. On this particular day that I was investigating, the EMF meter in my hand spiked. I heard whispering behind me, even though the WUSF people were in front of me and nobody was speaking. I turned around and snapped a shot, and I got this lovely orb image over a chair. I do not consider orbs to be valid proof of an entity, but I will tell you that it turns out I was there on John Williams' birthday, and above the chair was a portrait of John Williams. So I like to think he was proud that I was showing off his house. The Detroit Hotel that he built in 1888 is one of the oldest buildings in St. Petersburg. It is supposed to be haunted by a man in a three-piece suit who stays in the older section of the building and flirts with women from the balcony who are actually in Janice Landing. So if you look up and you see a man in a three-piece suit smiling at you, you might have seen a ghost. Janice Landing itself is also alleged to be haunted by a friendly ghost. This I have heard from word of mouth by two individuals who say that when the crowd was crushing them forward against the stage, a nondescript Caucasian male in a baseball cap grabbed them kind of from the shoulder or from the elbow and pulled them out of the crowd, and when they turned around to say thank you, there was nobody there. So if you're going to have a ghost, it's probably better to have a protected ghost like that one. There is no historic documentation of any deaths in Janice Landing, and so why he's there, if indeed he is completely unknown. For tonight's tour, the tours will be led by members of the Downtown and Midtown Student Government, and the stories will be provided by the Spirits of St. Petersburg members. It is a 3-block walk. You will start first with the Pier Hotel and Beth, then the Indigo Hotel with Mary, and I will meet you with Tammy at the Palladium, where you will get the history, a tour, and some pizza. If you would like to participate further, we do have this web link that you can utilize through your phones to actually upload information as you experience it on the tour. Please be aware that you need to be careful. I'd like to see you all on the other side, but not too soon. Hopefully I will see you at the Palladium shortly.